So when it comes to Geometry Dash, how would you factor in difficulty when it comes to a level? Would you say that if the rest of the level is decently easy and then one segment is super difficult, does that really influence the level as a whole? Or do you value more consistency within your difficulty, knowing that you could have just practiced that one segment, that theoretical segment that I just mentioned? Well, in today's video, we are going to analyze another RobTop level, a part of our analysis series, when it comes to the difficulty of Geometrical Dominator. Released on the 26th of August 2015, Update 2.0 was the 10th major update to Geometry Dash. Just as a quick disclaimer, I've already made a video discussing everything that Geometry Dash 2.0 added. In today's video, we're only going to be talking about Geometrical Dominator and the features that were added in 2.0 that were also added inside of Geometrical Dominator. Straight away, we're hit with brand new color schemes, monsters that can kill us if we're caught slipping, and of course moving objects, and the new game mode at the time being the robot. When it comes to this intro, introducing the player to moving objects and easing us into robot gameplay, I think that this is flawless, although when it comes to the difficulty, it is very bare bones. Same can be said for the flying segment that transitions into the wave segment just shy of 30%. I believe that the only takeaway here is moving objects once again, and the sheer blind reaction that a player will experience if they're reluctant to hit practice mode. Now, despite saying that these segments are lackluster after your first practice mode run when it comes to difficulty, when it comes to the gameplay, do these segments still hold up? Absolutely. So whenever I say that a segment is lackluster, I'm realistically only talking about the difficulty, especially for this level. After the wave segment, we get put into this dungeon segment where once again RobTop has switched up moving objects to therefore up the difficulty, this time creating a seamless transition into a staircase on numerous occasions. Once again, if you run this through practice mode at least once, maybe twice if you're new at the game, this isn't that difficult at all. Now, as we swiftly transition out of the dark dungeon segment, it puts us into a 2x robot only Rainbow Road from Mario Kart-esque segment. When it comes to the difficulty, once again, extremely lackluster, but that's not the purpose of this, it's to ease us into robot difficulty. Yeah, a new player could struggle on this when it comes to their timings of how long to hold, but once again, after one, maximum 2 practice segments, this should be pretty down pat. Now, after 2 swift orb presses, we're right back to ship gameplay, where myself 9 years ago was very distraught at the thought that your ship doesn't slow down whenever you enter water, because it turns out that this wasn't water. Okay, listen, jokes aside, right? But when it comes to the difficulty, this is almost as easy as it gets, especially for this UFO section, considering that all the slopes are harmless, so therefore you barely have to tap here. So here it is, this 13-second segment still has the community in utter shambles, trying to decide if this segment alone makes Geometrical Dominator an insane level. Now, first things first, this segment is extremely unique. There's easily nothing like this in RobTop's catalog, and will continue to be like that at this rate considering how long ago this level came out. This section alone is extremely practice orientated because of how much memorization goes into these 13 seconds, which, if you guys haven't gotten the idea already, is the whole segment. Now, the purpose of this segment was to also simultaneously show how the decoration can go hand in hand with difficulty in Geometry Dash. Now, I personally love this level. I love this segment as well, although the community says otherwise. So let's try and find out why. When it comes to the platforms that you either need to fall down on or jump, or a combination of both, they're fading away and forming, maybe they're fizzling away with this cool animation right here. It's a bit much, right? From personal experience, what I can vividly remember when I was struggling with this level back almost a decade ago was the idea that I had to let go for certain segments instead of just being trigger happy. But then I would confuse it for a section where I actually needed to be trigger happy, and then this made me really tilted. Now, honestly, when it comes to these normal pillars that you have to jump on, yeah, you're second guessing this for jumper. Then it's partnered with these random flat platforms, bit of thicker pillars, and then some orb gameplay that eases us out of this 13-second segment. Now, realistically, is this section that difficult? Okay, for RobTop standards, I'll give it to him, but for just difficulty standards in Geometry Dash as a whole, factoring in new players, I don't think so. Then after that, we transition into a purple brick section with the wave, then a key unlock system with the mini UFO into a normal ball section with moving platforms once again. Now, once again, when it comes to the difficulty, it's really non-existent here. This is once again Rob just showing moving platforms in a lot of different ways. Then after that, we find ourselves in this grass type themed mini ship segment and then transition into a regular blast processing-esque ending, but with the robot instead of the cube. So how we're going to come to a conclusion, at least using my opinion of course, is we're going to split Geometrical Dominator up into multiple sections. So what I was talking about with the intro, I'm going to use 0 to 30%, so almost a third of the level, as segment number 1. Then for the next segment, I'm going to use 30% to around roughly 52%. Then I'm going to go from 52% all the way up to 68%. Then I'm going to go from 68% to 80%. Then after that, I'm going to do 80 to 90%. And then, as a lot of you guys would have guessed, then I'm going to do 90 to 100. So without further ado, let's rapid fire this and get right into it. Now, 0 to 30% is easily one of the most conflicting segments I will ever have to analyze when it comes to this series. Let me explain. For a segment like this, there's two sides to the coin. You have a player that if they were to play RobTop's levels chronologically, they have just been bombarded as if it's still 2015 by once again, moving objects, brand new game modes, and decoration galore. Although the other side of the coin that I've just made up states that if you practice this level 1, 2 times, maybe 3 times if maybe you've skipped a couple levels, this doesn't become that difficult at all. So when it comes to 30% to around 52%, it's basically what I discussed at the beginning, but more in terms of sheer difficulty as opposed to blind reactions. So there's not really a lot to talk about here. Once again, you have moving objects. I just spoke about them. Then after that, we transition into an extensively long period to do with the brand new game mode being the robot. It's not too difficult, but it is an up in difficulty. Alright, let's rip the band-aid off. 52% to 68% is only decoration. Now, when it comes to 68 to 80, don't worry, I'm not going to yap here because I just did before. So that is my verdict. This is an incredibly difficult section when especially contrasted to the rest of Geometrical Dominator. Now, 80 to 90%, gameplay wise, stylistically, it's incredible. Very unique, especially for the time. Although once again, difficulty. Look how open this gameplay is. It's not that difficult whatsoever. Then from 90 to 100 to cap it all off, we have a very open-ended mini ship segment transitioning into what I would like to assume is a blast processing inspired, although with the robot, ending segment. So now that we've provided the best of both worlds, being an in-depth analysis of Geometrical Dominator and then rapid firing through sections that I've made up on my own, let's come to a final verdict. I personally believe Geometrical Dominator easily deserves a harder rating. Just because one segment, especially being a mere 13 seconds, that definitely doesn't change this from a harder to an insane. Absolutely not. Out of RobTop's 22 levels, I'm going to be taking a look at his best one yet, being Deadlocked. And if you currently disagree, I'm certain that by the end of this video, I'll be able to persuade you otherwise. The level starts off with some orb gameplay and then straight away hits us with a mini wave. No questions asked, this level is not playing around. And after we get out of that, we get hit with a fake. We get hit with more orb gameplay. Then we get hit with the brand new green orb, which was added in Geometry Dash 2.0, the same update that Deadlocked came out. Okay, you get some green orb gameplay and then boom, teleport gameplay into more green orb gameplay, into more teleport gameplay, into more hints. You're probably not falling for them, and then you're about to, oh wait, pause, wait, hold on. Can we please take a moment to acknowledge this intro? I believe that the neon outlined objects partnered with the dark blue background on top of the flawless implementations of the new features on the new update, oh, it works so well. Now, something that you won't know if you didn't play back in 2015 is that these gears are here near the beginning of the 3x wave to prevent a swag route. Now, how you were able to do it is see these two green orbs right here, that's your ticket to success. With two extremely delayed inputs, we can actually avoid the speed change, making it so this wave is the exact same momentum as the rest of the intro. Now, if you don't believe that this is how it used to look, if you go over to any any copyable, even the most popular one online with 12 million downloads, you can see the proof is right here. No gears inside. Now I want you to imagine it's 2015 again. Geometry 2.0 is not out, and the hardest segment that you'll find in any RobTop level would be the alternating gravity at the end of club step, or maybe the mystery piano tight ship section in Theory of Everything 2. So you could only imagine the look on everyone's faces when they get a tight corridor alternating gravity 3 times speed wave section. Even some of your favorite YouTubers such as Eric Van Wildman back then would have been spending over 1,000 attempts here. Now as the speed slows down, the gameplay does not. First of all, we get hit with moving objects in a mini ship, so the gameplay's already finicky enough. Then after that, we have to transition into a normal ball section where we get handed with invisible platforms that get revealed as we progress through the orb gameplay. But it's not over just yet, because then we have to prioritize click patterns due to evading these moving objects as a mini UFO. Now when it comes to this mini ship segment, we get introduced to one of 2.0's selling points, which would be this magical key right here. What makes this key so important is that it gives us our first coin. Although you may be wondering as this level progresses, where on earth is it? Well, RobTop was feeling extra fancy because instead of the coin appearing here for an example, you actually have to progress a quarter's length of the level to see that a secret compartment has been revealed to you. Here's the before, and here's the after. Rob then slows down the pace, hitting us with some green orbs and some teleports that fling us into, giving RobTop his credit, some quite satisfying orb presses to pull off. Then we get hit with the robot, where we have to showcase precision with this little tap right here. Then RobTop confuses us by us teleporting to transition into upside down gameplay, although it's shortly lived, then transitioning us into the next ball section. When it comes to this mini ball section, Rob's showing off. He's showcasing to us on different pacing when it comes to the speed, how teleport gameplay can be used to throw players off and develop memorization. Not too much to talk about here though. Now that that part's over, we say hello to the coin that we got thanks to the key at 19%. Say hello everyone. I said say. Now when it comes to this part right here, it may be my personal favorite when it comes to deadlock. Now I love this segment so much before I even get started because I keep on using the skills that I learned back in 2015, even on the most recent insane level that I've been working on, Supersonic. We start off with some normal cube gameplay, but that's not why I love it. It's because we transition into mini cube gameplay with some teleport gameplay and primarily these blue orbs. What makes this blue orb mini cube section so intriguing is that you have to showcase precision. See this blue orb here? Instead of just pressing it and you hold because you're a dummy and you forgot that you had to just tap there, you go right into this gear. You don't want that. That sends you back to 0. Instead, you go back to the drawing board, you realize that you only had to tap there, and then this teaches you trigger discipline. How incredible. Remember this ball section that I just spoke about? Well, I would like to hope so. I only just spoke about. The robot section is going to act as the complete opposite, developing our green orb gameplay. Boom, we have to showcase these mini jumps that we spoke about just earlier. Then we get handed with some green orb and some normal orb gameplay to a secret passageway. That gives us our second coin. That's 2 out of 3, baby. We're on a roll. Don't forget to mention that RobTop also includes invisible objects here because what, he couldn't make it too easy, right? Now before we even get introduced to the section, Rob's saying that he likes this part, so we already have some high expectations. Now, were those expectations met? Absolutely, we're straight flying to our heart's content. Grief, top number 1, most difficult level in the game? I don't think so. Boom, verified, get that out of my face. This part's going crazy, your heart's going through the roof. If you have a heart rate monitor on the top left of your screen, get that out of here because it's about to say unlimited. You might be scared, you might not know what to do, but it's okay because Colors Gaming is here to guide you. And when it comes into the first segment, this is easy. You just have to fly into this yellow portal. Because the portals are alternating, it does the rest of the work for you. So when it comes to this little smooth up and down transition here, you don't have to press anything. We get handed with some fakes here. Are we going to land at the top or are we going to land at the bottom? Well, thanks to practice mode, you should know by now that it's the bottom. And if you think ever during a run that it's at the top, whoa, who? That wasn't meant to happen. And when it comes to this upside down ship segment, I don't think it's anyone's preference, although I have a silver lining for you. It's only 2 seconds long. Short-lived section right here, you just dip right down, come back up, and then it's similar to what we just spoke about at the beginning. Then after that, it's the upside down version of this with the mini ship instead. Then when it comes to this UFO section, it's simply click patterns and the CPS that you're comfortable with using. If you don't know what CPS is, it's clicks per second. Then we have one of the most infamous segments in any RobTop level. This is pretty action-packed. Once again, similar to the beginning wave, this caught new players off tremendously, but I'm here to help you out. For any of you that want some advice here, all I can say is just focus on either the top or the bottom wave instead of just looking directly down the middle, which I believe I did back then. I don't know, I'm not going to justify. Then after that, the pace slows down completely, prioritizing more precision in this mini wave gameplay. As the speed swiftly picks back up, so does the gameplay. RobTop hits us with a maze section thanks to the new moving objects that were added once again in Geometry Dash 2.0. Considering that this segment is after 80%, this is no easy task. First of all, we're in the normal size ship, ensuring that we showcase precision because these objects stay moving. You're on your feet this whole entire time. Well, as soon as we see this teleport portal get unveiled, yeah, we start running into some issues. First of all, we're going to be the mini ship, which is already precise enough as it is. But then, RobTop's not finished, because in the same motion that we enter this teleport portal right here, we go upside down. Yeah, alright. And after that, we remain the mini ship as we keep on evading just like the beginning of this segment right here, moving objects. Then after that, for this ball section, the pace slows down completely. We may be a bit confused, although with practice mode, I think you'll be alright. There's moving objects and orb gameplay, but that's nothing that we haven't seen before. Then we get hit with alternating platforms with alternating speeds. Now the thing is that although these platforms are moving at the exact same rate to the exact pixel, because you're moving from a 2x speed to a 3x speed, your click patterns are going to be a bit different here. Then as the speed of the level goes back to normal, just as it was all the way back at 0%, we cap off this amazing journey of Deadlocked. Now that we've unpacked Deadlocked and all that it has to offer, let's rewind to the beginning of the video to try and remember what I said. I'm going to be taking a look at his best one yet, being Deadlocked. Now that I've gone through Deadlocked in its entirety with you guys, even giving you guys some advice in certain sections that may come off as difficult, there's one thing that we learnt from all that, is that Deadlocked prioritizes everything. To help you understand where I'm getting at here, Deadlocked uses every single game mode besides the robot in both its normal and mini variations throughout the whole entire level. So now that I know that information about Deadlocked, I now view this level as an ultimate test, an accumulation of every single game mode and the prior designs and gameplay challenges that we may have faced, all in this level. I grew up playing Mario, I grew up playing Nintendo as a whole. This is kind of the stereotypical conclusion to a game that, at least me personally, I've grown accustomed to. And honestly, apart from the fact that I believe that Deadlocked is designed incredibly, this has to be my reason on why I believe it's RobTop's best. And considering that to this date, Deadlocked remains the last RobTop demon, I still think that my opinion on this stands very well. Geometry Dash wasn't always the game you've fallen in love with. Back in 2014, the game came off as unpolished at times and needed something else to propel it past its precursor, the impossible game. In today's video, we take a look at the level that saved Geometry Dash, Blast Processing. Blast Processing starts off its levels with open arms. It's here to be your friend. Difficulty-wise, this is quite accessible for almost every single player, and when it comes to the actual decoration, this is nothing but eye candy. Now that's all good and well, although before we can even say we got to 15% of the level, we already got hit with one of Geometry Dash's biggest changes ever. What I'm talking about is the Wave, the brand new game mode that was added in Geometry Dash 1.9 and first introduced to us as the player within Blast Processing. Now when it comes to the Wave, if you hold, it goes up, and if you let go, it goes down. Pretty easy stuff here. How we're introduced to the Wave is extremely simplistic. Developer RobTop has ensured that there's arrows placed so there's no surprises, so therefore as the player we can take our time with the Wave to get nice and familiar. Now that doesn't matter if the actual difficulty is increased here, which thankfully enough it's not. These corridors are nice and open, varying in clicks per second, commonly referred to as CPS, so we can understand what RobTop may ask of us later. That's foreshadowing, by the way. What's also noteworthy is that this entire wave section lasts 13% of blast processing to make sure that the player understands how significant this new game mode really is. That's enough of the new game mode, at least for now. RobTop hits us with a normal ship section where we can hold on these platforms, let go on these platforms, or hit a bit of a stray fly in between. We have options here as the player. This level, once again, is here to be our friend. Now, I'm a big fan of this normal ball section. The actual pacing remains the exact same, although the CPS can say something different. I view moments like this like the pacing in a YouTube video, a TV show, or a movie, ensuring that the player has variation within their gameplay to make sure that they stay awake, they're feeling satisfied, and of course, the most important part, they're having a good time. After that ball section, we're right back on the wave, where we can notice that these corridors have shrunk a little bit and the duration of them have increased, ensuring that we increase our CPS. Wasn't lying when I told you about foreshadowing. Now, up until this point, it can be argued that RobTop's held your hand. He's introducing a lot of new things within this level, most importantly being the wave, and first impressions are crucial, especially within a video game like Geometry Dash. That's why at 50%, RobTop introduces us to dual wave gameplay. Yeah, this segment is shortly lived, but it doesn't need to be long. RobTop needs the player to understand that the wave is versatile. It's here to stay. It's going to carry Geometry Dash for the years to come. We need to understand the importance and how fun this gameplay really is. And on top of that, we get introduced to the first coin of blast processing, despite just saying that we were at 50%. So blast processing does switch things up in this regard. Now, to rewind really quickly on this coin that I was just talking about, it's not an understatement to say it's one of RobTop's hardest. Is this, compared to online levels, a difficult segment? No. But when it comes to the coin spots that RobTop has provided us, even talking 2.2 standards, is this difficult? Yes. Now, in my opinion, this segment has gone underappreciated as the years have gone by. Teaching the player that not every single situation they'll come across as the wave will be identical is such an important skill set for them to learn moving forward if they actually want to see longevity within Geometry Dash instead of this game just being a one and done. Now that that dual section's over, we become a singular wave once again as we discover what I've come to believe over these years as a genius flip on gameplay. Let's take a look at the beginning ship segment that are referred to as simplistic, eye candy, and a very friendly experience for the player, being able to hold, straight fly, or let go. Well, this wave segment's going to act as the complete opposite. Yeah, the actual environment looks almost identical, but the gameplay is flipped on its head. We can't touch the roof. We can't touch the floor. We're gonna explode. We're going back to 0%. It's like that. This therefore continues the player's understanding of the wave. This is a new game mode. What's going on? How can we use it? Well, we've understood that we can use it in corridors. We've understood that we need to increase our clicks per second. We've understood that it can have variations within game modes that already exist. And now we understand that things can get a bit tricky at times. Now, when it comes to this cube section, it's purely just to spice up the gameplay. There's really nothing too much to talk about. I mean, yeah, the decoration's pretty cool, but substance-wise, we're not working with a lot here. This UFO section's pretty interesting. The first half of it is super simplistic. We can hold on the platforms. We don't need to be conscious of our click patterns at all. But then for the second half, it's the complete opposite. He has spikes everywhere. We can't just spam. And this coin, we actually have to time something. Pretty interesting. This ship segment right here reminds me the exact same as the second wave segment that we've seen within blast processing. We're much more restricted within our movement compared to the first time that we saw the game mode, so therefore we have to be much more conscious of our clicks. We can't just go everywhere here. Blast processing near the end of the level is honestly a rapid fire round. We're right back to the ball once again, although unlike the ship and unlike the wave, the gameplay is the exact same. We don't see an increase in difficulty here. Now, when it comes to this UFO segment right here, I'm super confused on why it's even a UFO. I mean, look at the gameplay here. I have to ride this slope as if I'm prime Tony Hawk, and then after that I just click a little bit. Listen, I love the variety in gameplay here, but this part does confuse excuse me. We're with the ship for the third time, where this time it's looking a bit more traditional. We have some cubes that we have to avoid, the decoration's looking insane, and then the coin reminds me the exact same as Theory of Everything's second one. Then as we transition back into the cube, it's a full circle moment. The decoration's looking the exact same, and the gameplay's looking the exact same, besides this little memorization bit that RobTop hits us with at the very end. Difficulty ratings inside of Geometry Dash are just one of those things where sometimes people just can't come to an agreement. Have it be RobTop's levels or online levels, it still stands. Although, as opposed to players disagreeing with each other, today we're going to be taking a look at a level that made the creator of the game himself, RobTop, disagree with his own rating. In today's episode, we're going to be taking a look at Electroman Adventures, originally introduced to the player as a harder level in Update 1.6, just to be upgraded to an insane difficulty one update later. When it comes to the intro of Electroman Adventures, it keeps it pretty simple. We gotta remember, we're all the way back in 2014 with this update, and destructible blocks were one of the selling points. Makes sense on why you see it so much here. Now, when it comes to this mini ship segment, I'm a big fan of it. I find it extremely satisfying to do both pathways, the intended route and then the hidden coin route. It's a really fun time, and then we follow up by going through these very easy to navigate through pillars. Although I must add, and I think that everyone's going to agree with me on this one, the coin route is infinitely easier than the intended path. I'm not going to include this in my analysis of the difficulty because I won't include coins. I think that that's fair, but it is interesting to point out. And of course, now that I mention it, I think for the first coin, that should be unanimously agreed upon to be the easier pathway. Now, when it comes to this minicube section, I could argue that minicube gameplay is difficult for new players. Although thanks to most of the gameplay being pad work, so in other words auto, you can't really say anything here. Now, when it comes to this section, I'll give RobTop the benefit of the doubt on the insane rating. We have to remember, for videos like this, I'm only comparing it really to RobTop's other levels, so when I say that this is difficult, I'm of course talking for his standards. Then we get sent into reverse gameplay, which automatically makes this even more difficult, into a nice 50-50 split of normal cube gameplay and upside down cube gameplay, courtesy of this blue orb right here. Difficulty wise, I mean the duration's close to nothing, but then this could throw new players off with the reverse gameplay, so I'll hear them out on just this one. We have to factor in everyone here. As we get unreversed, we get put into normal sized UFO gameplay, where once again, I'm actually giving Electroman Adventures the benefit of the doubt here. UFO timings like this, especially when I was first learning Geometry Dash, were not my favorite thing in the world. Could just be me, but I did want to factor that in. Now, when it comes to segments like this in RobTop levels, I'm easily giving this an insane. Let's acknowledge the fact that you cannot hold or let go throughout any portion of this ship segment. That's definitely something to know. So as we come to this part of the level, do we acknowledge that this level can be difficult at times, especially for new players? 100%. Although something that you'll see moving forward within this level is that we're actually about to experience a turning point where the level becomes extremely easy to what we've just discussed. We leave that ship segment and now go into a reverse mini UFO where, unlike the ship, we can touch the roof and the floor of these pillars as we please. So therefore, as you would have guessed already, you can spam and let go whenever you want throughout this whole section, or of course go through the middle. You would have picked up that that's a pretty big change. We just go from this ship, where I would easily give this an insane rating when comparing it to other RobTop levels, to whatever you would rate this. Harder? Hard? I'll let you guys decide down below. We follow up the mini UFO with mini ship gameplay now, and once again I have something to discuss here. You can hold and you can let go. Bit of a recurring pattern here. We went from this ship segment, where once again, I would without a doubt give that an insane, to this. So it really creates a bit of a divide, or at least it starts to begin to, when it comes to Electroman Adventures. We leave that mini ship segment to then go back into another mini cube section, where I would have to argue that in my opinion, this is the most crucial segment within the level when it comes to ranking the difficulty. Take a look at that percentage right there. We're now in choke point territory. The mini game mode can enhance quite simplistic gameplay. Let's compare this ending portion to the reverse cube gameplay that I touched on earlier. Similarities between these two portions is that you're the cube first of all, and then you're also switching between normal gravity and upside down gravity. Although as opposed to your focus being on the idea that you're reversed, this time it's the idea that your input speed needs to be increased. This being on the sheer fact that your airtime is reduced within the mini game mode. So far, when we're analyzing Electroman Adventures, we've seen quite contradicting arguments when it comes to the overall difficulty of the level. To help us understand how confusing rating Electroman Adventures is, let's create a score sheet for what segments I would give a harder, as opposed to what segments I would give an insane. The beginning cube is without a doubt a harder. I'm giving the beginning ship, factoring in the normal intended pathway, not the hidden coin, an insane. The mini cube section right here is without a doubt a harder due to the majority of it being auto. As previously discussed, this ball section is definitely an insane. I'm a bit conflicted on the reverse cube gameplay, although I'm going to have to lean towards insane, considering that we have to factor in new players. Despite the awkward timing here with the UFO that I discussed earlier, of course, when it comes to the grand scheme of this portion, I'm going to have to lean towards harder. Not too much to say that I haven't already mentioned here, this ship segment is an insane. This reverse mini UFO is without a doubt a harder, and I would go to say that it could be the easiest portion of the entire level. This mini ship segment, without questions, is a harder, and then of course, we just spoke about this segment, it's an insane. Therefore, if you've been counting right, we find ourselves with a 50-50 split when it comes to harder and insane segments for Electroman Adventures. Although lucky enough for us, the level's not over yet, so hopefully the end of the level can help us come to a very obvious conclusion. We keep up with the pattern of being mini, this time with mini ball gameplay. RobTop's given us a helping hand here with these pulsating circles, where if you click in their near vicinity, then you'll simply just progress through the level. Very helpful. The level then splits off into two pathways, a technique of level design that we saw early in the level, although this time both pathways are the exact same difficulty. Ironically enough, we discussed that the two coins that we've already come across were very easy. I would have to argue that the third one here is the easier path of the two, ever so slightly, because you don't have to adjust your eyes. When it comes to the actual difficulty of this segment, I just don't see it. This has to be harder, right? Surely people agree with me on this? I'm not quite sure what is difficult about this section at all. The click patterns are very easy to learn, and once again, I'm dead serious, you're guided by these pulsating circles. They do help, they are a thing. And now that we're up to the final segment of the level, we have it at 6 versus 5. So will the conclusion of the level result in a tie, or are we actually about to come to an evident conclusion? All we have to do is jump, fall into this upside down portal with some gravity orbs that you can end up buffering, so that's super easy, transitioning into some gameplay that you would second guess for jumper. So there we have it, 7 versus 5. The majority rules. Electroman Adventures, at least how I see best fit, is a harder level, although my conclusion is not the end all be all. Let me know what you think down below. When you're playing Geometry Dash for the first time, you unintentionally put yourself in a position where you're encountering something for the first time. This can range from game modes and portals, all the way up to camera movements later down the line. Some gameplay changes are quite easy to understand, such as when Time Machine first came out with update 1.1 with the mirror portal, where you understood what was happening the second you went through it. Although the same can't be said for one of the portals in the game, and that's the mini portal. In today's episode, we're going to be taking a look at how RobTop introduced mini gameplay flawlessly with the addition of Clutterfunk. Clutterfunk starts off with a fiery red background, swords that try and kill you straight away, and already hitting you with reverse gameplay. We gotta remember, things like this are only possible due to the level being rated insane, which allows for more gameplay opportunities to open up. If RobTop was to try and introduce mini gameplay on a rating such as normal, for example, this is what that gameplay would have to look like. Yeah, no thank you. We then get reversed back into normal gameplay, do some platforming, have some orbs that we have to attack into some upside down gameplay. And now finally, once we get to 15% of the level, mini gameplay is introduced to us for the very first time in Geometry Dash. Mini gameplay doesn't only make you mini. Let's take the mini cube for example. Your jump is significantly lower due to the increasing gravity of this game mode. So not only do you have to reconsider as a developer of the level your gameplay, but then as a player, you kind of have to flip a mental switch to go from, oh, okay, I was just playing normal, to things are going to be a bit different now. We get introduced as the Minikube, and straight away, I love what I see. The reason why I made note to gravity in today's episode is because of how vital it is for satisfying and most importantly, difficult gameplay. RobTop's acknowledged being able to fall to the ground faster, therefore increasing the amount of obstacles that we have to navigate through by just simply jumping. And in my opinion, this is quite a noticeable change. Obviously that's the intention, it's a whole new game mode, but still, I've been playing this game for a very long time and these changes still stick out to me a lot. Something else I found noteworthy when we got introduced to mini gameplay is the design choice that RobTop went for. As opposed to the gameplay being open, he's lowered the height of the roof, creating this kind of compact sequence here when we first get introduced to the Minikube. This has ensured that the focal point from the player remains strictly on the new game mode and nothing else. So although this is difficult, it's not overwhelming in the sense of confusion. The end of the section's basically auto apart from the very last jump that puts us right back into normal gameplay, this time being with the ship. Something to note about this ship segment is just how much I love it. The difference between getting the coin and just doing the normal gameplay is a subtle change, but I do enjoy it. It's a pretty rewarding coin to get. And just like that, we're right back into mini gameplay, this time with the mini ball. And I'd have to say, this is probably one of RobTop's most popular sections, for better and for worse. When I say for worse, I just mean that this is a pretty difficult segment, so therefore a massive chunk of the community that consider themselves more casual are gonna find it pretty hard to appreciate this. The ball is no exception to the concept of increased gravity or at least faster movement for these game modes. Therefore, RobTop has created one of his best segments in any of his levels, at least in my opinion. The pacing on this segment is absolutely ridiculous. We have upside down portals that are going to move us around. We have enhanced movement because he's included upside down orbs and just normal orbs. And then this is mixed in with very satisfying gameplay. It's good to see RobTop continuously use this design choice of these platforms are safe or this is where I want you to go. We saw the same design choice in Electroman Adventures, which is a level that we've recently discussed. We've touched on how the mini portal can enhance gameplay by making it more difficult, and this is once again, just in this level alone, another great example of that. Before the gameplay even begins, take a look. We're missing something. We are about to go into mini ship gameplay for the very first time, just after being introduced to the mini ball for the very first time. And the best part is, that's not it. This will be a continuous factor when it comes to any single time you play Clutterfunk or you just see similar implemented gameplay when it comes to online level. Because yeah, the better you get at the game, the less challenging this is. But this is a very awkward transition for a lot of players. We leave that mini ball section by pressing on these 3 orbs. As you would have guessed, gravity is once again a massive factor when it comes to, this time, mini ship gameplay. And RobTop once again realized that he really needs to force you to be comfortable with the mini gameplay, so then he prolongs this segment for a decent amount of time. Although we had to eventually go back into normal gameplay, so this time we're going upside down and back into normal gameplay with the normal ship. I think once again we need to bring mention to RobTop's creativity despite being in 1.4. Subtle touches such as the background color corresponding to the gravity that you're on courtesy of these portals is a nice change. Now this section I imagine as the earlier ball section that we saw with the mini ball, although transformed into cube gameplay, and once again I think that RobTop does a stellar job here. We leave that normal ship segment by transitioning into mini cube gameplay, and RobTop does everything in his power to make this one of his more difficult sections in his catalog. Mini gameplay needs to mesh with normal gameplay almost flawlessly. We can't have this brand new game mode come off as a gimmick, we needed to enhance the enjoyability of playing Geometry Dash. RobTop showcases his understanding of this by making sure that the gameplay is refreshing at all times. The difficulty is noticeably an increase, and so is the enjoyability of the level. Considering that we're all the way back in Geometry Dash 1.4. This is an absolute masterclass by RobTop here, captivating the player by increasing the difficulty in such fashion, considering that we've only been able to use game modes for the most part to do so, is definitely an eye-opener. Even the little things, such as implementing click discipline within the level, such as this little roof here that we have to simply wait until we have to jump, or this one with a spike, because then it's inevitable, we'll just die if we jump too early. Now I've made mention to mini gameplay needing to also be a standalone feature and not just build off of what we've already seen. That's why RobTop once again makes the conclusion of the entire level, starting from 82% entirely mini. Great timing that we mention that, because just as we get into the mini only portion to cap off this level, we get introduced to the final coin of Clutterfunk. A lot of people have mixed opinions on this coin, rightfully so. It's a blind jump, so a lot of people are going to see this as a cheap way to implement difficulty. Although in my opinion, I think that this is counteracted by the fact that the gameplay surrounding it is as chaotic as possible. It's all about recurring themes here to conclude Clutterfunk, and once again we're going to be discussing the vertical jump of the mini cube. RobTop once again capitalizes on this, making sure that we have different outbursts of shortly framed platforming work. With variation with this type of gameplay, this just further solidifies Clutterfunk as an insane level. There's no debate, but this just goes to show how mini gameplay can contribute towards difficulty very well. Constantly switching between very consistent platforms to somewhat different orb gameplay makes the ending absolutely chaotic. And to cap off Clutterfunk, it's quite unique. If you look at all of RobTop's levels, they end in similar fashion. However, when it comes to Clutterfunk, we end by falling down this long staircase. With how advanced level editing has become in Geometry Dash, it's pretty hard to imagine a time where we had limitations. With almost every single level prior to 2.2 having some nitpicks, such as potential camera movements in some portions, or just simply better decoration, yeah, no level's perfect. Although in absolutely no circumstance would you use that as a negative to downplay a level. Ironically enough, that's probably one of the best compliments that you could ever give the creator of a level, being held back by the actual game rather than themselves. And that had me thinking, what level is too far ahead of its time? It didn't take me too long to come to the conclusion that RobTop's very own Theory of Everything 2 is one of the greatest examples we have for being too ahead of its time. Theory of Everything 2 starts off with some orb gameplay that's lit up by neon colorways dependent on the colors that you chose coming into the level. As opposed to the gameplay being a selling point here, we're actually going to talk about the atmosphere for a little bit when it comes to this level. Theory of Everything 2, like the actual song, starts off with the piano that we're all familiar with. The intro of the song is not instrument heavy whatsoever, so therefore the gameplay isn't action packed either. Now the actual concept of pacing would put you right to sleep if there wasn't any variety, so that's why as the song experiences a bass drop, so does the level, because we get hit with a ship that's 2 times speed while we have to navigate invisible blocks while switching gravity. If you're just playing through RobTop's levels, this segment is ridiculous. This is emphasized even more if you consider yourself a completionist and want to get all of the golden coins, because in my opinion the alternate pathway is even worse. I love the pattern for RobTop's 3 demons here. The intro is super simplistic, yeah you might die here and there, but practice mode exists, and then after that he hits you with something that you're gonna have some issue with. In Theory of Everything 2, he makes up for the sudden spike in difficulty by slowing it down with this UFO. A key component to getting better at Geometry Dash are click patterns, and this UFO is a great example of this. We're right back onto 2 times speed gameplay, although this time we're the ball. We're getting hit with fakes, and the gameplay is loosely syncing up with the music. This is ball gameplay in my opinion at its best. Yeah, I prefer a bit more of a challenge, but because RobTop's levels can't be the most difficult thing in the world, I love this. We're flowing effortlessly, we're getting hit with fakes, it's a recurring theme in almost every single level in the game, but I can't get enough. As we go back into the UFO with now a 1 time speed, it's pretty safe to say that this is similar to what we just discussed, although switched up with a mini variant of the UFO this time. As the instruments of of Theory of Everything 2 reach a bit more of a higher pitch, it's nice to see the background lose its color, because as soon as that punch comes right back into the song, we're right back to the background being eye-candy. In terms of the gameplay, it's a bit cluttered, but in a good way. This level is meant to be difficult. There's some platforms, you're not meant to go on most of them, you're getting hit with fakes, although even one practice mode, you'll get the hang of this. The punch of the song leaves, the piano reintroduces itself, and you know what that means when it comes to Theory of Everything 2, we're getting introduced to a new segment. Now with this little camera movement here, it can definitely be awkward in some levels, although RobTop fortunately enough gives us enough of a breather. RobTop could have added artificial difficulty by making this open space less open or just significantly shorter. That would have sucked, people would have hated that. Now we can't say that the invisible platforms here add difficulty. The only reason I mention that in the introduction is because of the speed that we're on. Now difficulty's made up for when it comes to precision. Yeah, going upside down here into normal gravity, not too bad, but going upside down on a mini ship, oh man, when I first started playing this game, don't even get me started. We then go back into the normal ship, we have to split between these two invisible saws, but that's not that bad, sounds worse than it actually is, and then after that we're right back into normal cube gameplay. Let's just speak about this segment for what it's worth. We're about to build up to a massive climax of the level, being the wave, so this part's not too tricky. RobTop wants you to get involved, he can't have too many choke points, it's a mainline level. With how this portion of the level's built, you would think that we're just meant to ascend vertically, although how the camera moves hints towards the fact that we have to drop through and pay attention to these invisible blocks. And then as the song peaks, so does the level. This wave into a memorization ball into another wave is one of the best segments in any RobTop level. With how the song flows so effortlessly here, I'm glad that the gameplay is the exact same. RobTop could have slowed down or maybe even made the ball section faster, but we're still just going to carry it 2x speed, and that's what I love. Now I'm not going to say that this portion's relatively easy, although I do appreciate that the click patterns are super easy and satisfying to learn. Then when it comes to this awesome memorization ball segment, I'm not going to necessarily touch on the difficulty because it's in its name, it's memorization, that's up for you to decide, although when it comes to how it looks, it's once again correspondent on the colorways that you chose coming into the level. Here's the colors gaming purple and pink, and then here's a monstrosity because I felt like it. We navigate through that ball section that we were just talking about into another wave segment, more reminiscent of its 1.9 counterpart, blast processing with the click pattern, then sprinkled in with our second golden coin. Then after that wave, we don't slow down, we keep the 2x speed going, this time with the mini ship, where precision is key once again in arguably one of the level's more popular choke points. When it comes to the gameplay, the level's completely dead, the background goes as dark as possible, highlighting the objects that we have to navigate through. In terms of gameplay, follows the exact same pattern, as the instrumentals are limited, this time with the Eric Van Wilderman quoted mystery piano, the gameplay is as simple as it gets, plus RobTop had to make up for the part that we've all been waiting for. We're getting up to those mid to high 70s. That means that we're up to the ship segment that I hinted towards earlier, and as a viewer, you were obviously waiting for. With how difficult this segment is, arguably RobTop's most difficult portion in any of his levels, people don't know how to feel about this. When it comes to my opinion on this portion, I think that context matters. Every single time I've heard someone complain about this segment, they fail to really hit the nail on the head, because subconsciously they hate this segment due to the level's overall difficulty. Let's just forget everything prior to the wave ball wave ship portion. If you're trying to complete Theory of Everything 2 for the first time, it will be no understatement to say that anything past 70% will have you shaken in your seat. So then the sudden dissatisfaction that you receive when you inevitably die at this very difficult ship segment, you're going to be pissed off. If what we had done prior was easier, i.e. the beginning of the level for example, you wouldn't be hating on this portion at all. It's only because of where it's segmented and because of what we had to previously do. No one talks about that. So although it's more than valid to say that this portion's difficulty spike is unjustified, the reason on why people hate it needs to be specified a bit more. As we navigate our way through that ship segment, we end up getting hit with gameplay oddly reminiscent of the cube that we saw right before the wave. Although you can basically basically skip that entirely by going through the hidden coin route, which I've discussed in previous videos to be one of RobTop's easiest coins in the entire game. That then transitions us into a mini UFO, where we're not only normal gravity, but upside down, prioritizing click patterns that you're basically forced to practice. The gameplay slows down completely, although we stay consistent with the size, this time with the mini wave. Because the mini wave is so precise, chances are every single time you get to this portion of the level, 95% by the way, it might not be the same. Especially for inexperienced players, you're not coming into this level knowing exactly when to press. Chances are you're going to need to readjust. Then after that wave, you're only 3 orb presses away from 100%. So considering the fact that Theory of Everything 2 either reintroduced or created fundamental gameplay techniques that we see to this day, that solidifies Theory of Everything 2 as one of the best aging levels in the game's history.